Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar on MicroStrategy Dossier and Workstation. My name is Tinkara, and I am so excited to be your host for today's event. On today's agenda, we have an hour planned for the demo presentation on how to use Dossier and Workstation, and an hour for the interactive workshop on Dossier. After that, we also have a Q&A session planned, so don't be shy and ask away. Joining us and giving you this priceless knowledge is Przemysław, who is a senior sales engineer at MicroStrategy. But before I pass the word to him, I would just like to do a bit of housekeeping. As you have probably noticed, your microphones are muted, so please use the chat if you're having any technical issues or want to ask a question. You can also send us an email, and we will gladly answer any questions that you may have. That's all from my side for now. I hope everyone enjoys the demo and workshop. And with that, Przemysław, the virtual stage is yours.
Thank you very much, Tinkara, and I am really happy and glad to be here in this session with you. And I would like to start from the demonstration presentation of the newest features of MicroStrategy Dossier, as well as Workstation. So let me share my screen. All right, so hopefully everyone can see properly my screen. So let's start from the product upgrade from MicroStrategy. And I would like to start from this context in which we all operate, in which all the companies should somehow work. So we are typically talking about some needs of the companies which are not limited to nice visualizations. This all is typically in the context of the governed data, right? So apart from the nice and modern analytics, the companies typically need also governance, security, the information stored about the logical entities of the model in a catalog. And this all should be performant, scalable, and could be used and reused multiple times in various reports. So typically what you see in the market is that you have two separate groups of tools for that, for data visualization and for metadata, and then you try to combine this. Whereas in MicroStrategy, you have this one platform that allows you to use self-service at scale and in a governed way. So what happens typically with various tools that you have, let's assume even a single source of data, right? So you have a single source of data. And even in this case, typically you see that the companies have to, or because of some processes inside, they basically duplicate both the data sets as well as logic that is behind your KPIs, dimensions, and dashboards. So very quickly, you can get to this stage that there is a complete chaos, and it's very, very difficult to manage the whole ecosystem of BI. In case of MicroStrategy, we are providing this central semantic graph with data model and which is unifying the underlying data, and which consists of multiple reusable objects that you can select from to your applications. And what typically it looks like in MicroStrategy when you, for example, need to do some changes. So let's assume that you want to change, for example, the definitions of regions and modify how profit is calculated. So what happens in MicroStrategy? So typically, you need to select two objects, basically the object of region and the object of profit, and apply two changes. So for each, only one change, right? And then MicroStrategy automatically applies changes to all reports and all dashboards. And this, if you compare to what's happening with various tools. Quite often, such a change of two objects, in fact, requires people to do changes manually in each report where those objects exist, right, or those values exist. For example, you have this region or profit definition in various places embedded in dossiers, then you have to go to those places, and you have so many opportunities to do some mistakes, right? So we definitely recommend to our customers the extensive usage of MicroStrategy semantic graph that allows you to minimize the effort related to maintenance of the whole ecosystem, and later related to the just development of new content. So let's go to the product itself, right? And we'll talk today a lot about dossiers, because dossiers are at the center of self-service. They allow you to build offline and online your dashboards, your dossiers, based on multiple sources of data. Typically, we recommend that the users just connect to the semantic graph and select the building blocks in shape of those KPIs, those metrics and attributes, and you put them into your dossiers, your dashboards, applications. And this is recommended. However, sometimes you have this situation that there's not everything is there, right? Not everything is in the semantic graph. That's why it's good to have this opportunity to just import something quickly from the data source that you have access to. And this technology allows you to import data from more than 200 data sources, as the connectors are included already. And you can do this directly from the dossier. Also, some newer features that were introduced recently are related to how the things can be put on the screen, right? And what are the layouts available. We provided our customers with freeform canvas capabilities that allow you to create simple visualizations of full frontline applications. Something similar if you are familiar with documents. Now you have very similar capabilities with very flexible layouts can be created. Also, we invested a lot in visualization gallery with some new visualizations like Sankey diagram, microcharts, multimetric KPIs, and other. The other thing that was introduced is transactions into the grid of the dossiers. So this is something that goes beyond the typical consumption or analysis of the data, right? You can collect information and you can write back them into your source systems. So you can enrich existing data, or you can update it, or provide some comments, provide feedback, approve things, and so on. And of course, there are several other new capabilities. We will not be able to show them all today, but at least I would like to focus on the most important ones. So let's take a look at some of them in action. So first of all, you have those KPIs widgets. So those KPI widgets allow you now to not only show one single KPI, but also to compare things next to each other. So you can have several KPIs in the same widget. Or you can compare indirectly two KPIs, as you can see in this black box in the top. Also, this stock market index here, the visualization that you can see here, allows you to show some trends in time, and it's a highly flexible visualization, similarly like the Sankey diagram that is below. It allows you to configure it as you like. Additionally, you have those panel stacks. The panel stacks is a concept now from documents, MicroStrategy documents, that allowed you to have several layers of the information on one screen, and it can be embedded, and you can have something like a dashboard inside dashboard to have more information, and you can also use it to pass to go to other detailed information and pass context as you do that. Okay, so let's take a look at those concepts. So first of all, the pop-up windows, those information windows that unlock some multiple creative use cases. So basically, you can click on a data point, and you will receive a pop-up window that will allow you to see the data from different perspectives, or maybe see more detailed data. And there are several use cases for that. One of them is just additional context with information window. You can learn quick facts as you explore the dossier. You can drill without leaving the page or changing the view, right? So very quickly, you can get this additional layer of information that enriches your analysis, so you can basically do some actions immediately. Another use case is tutorial splash screen with information window. So as you can see here, examples, you can add this help or info icon or text, and it will describe the screen to the user so that they can use it in more, they can very quickly learn how to use it. Another example, a pop-up window to show a navigation menu. So you can, for example, go from this navigation menu to other parts of the application very quickly, but not necessarily you need to just use the real estate of the screen to show the menu all the time on the screen, right? So you can design your own navigation bar, let's say, and this navigation bar can be by default not visible, right? So you can invoke that and then navigate. Or you can just use pop-up windows to do some more creative things, just provide more information that the users can learn more about some specific things. So whenever they, for example, click on a specific part of a product, or then can learn something about this. So it can be very visual. It can be something like an infographic style of the application. And how to create that? Very simple. Here you have this icon with information window. You click on that, and then you can start adding content and formatting this information window. So first of all, you can set up the background field. You can start adding some shapes, for example. So let's add a shape. And then you can set up some other formatting related to colors and lines and so on. So multiple options to prepare this in a way that is corresponding to your existing applications, for example, or to the needs of your company. And obviously, you can add some visualizations inside. And they can be invoked from the data points, right? So you can say, okay, if I select something on this graph, then please invoke this particular information window. So we did it just like that very quickly. And now when we click, you will see this information window appearing in your application, right? So the whole setup is very simple. You create this information window in a very similar way as you would do a normal dashboard. And it can be composed of multiple panels, not necessarily only one panel. You can add additional panels. Another thing is that you can use those panel stacks to in mobile use cases. So for example, you can use those panels to just scroll additional information, but still keep this sticky button bar at the top, right? So you can design this sticky button bar, and it will not disappear from the screen when you are scrolling the application, right? So it is one of the use cases quite commonly used in such a way on mobile devices also. another thing is the panel stacks. The panel stacks is something quite similar to information windows. However, this is something that is there all the time on the screen, right? So you can add up to one level nested panel stacks inside, and you can use them for flexible formatting, and you can use both the freeform and auto layout inside, as well as you can enable this vertical scrolling that you've seen in the information window. And obviously you can drag and drop existing objects to create the content, right? So very similar way of creating. So you create, select the panel stack, you add some panels, you name those, rename those panels, and then you basically, you can format that and add the content, right? So for example, you can decide to add a separate selector for the panels, and then you set the target for the selector. So the target in this case is just a panel stack. And now you can easily select the panels from the panel stack. And well, we can continue with this. Of course, you can format those buttons that are used to select the panel. So you can see here that we selected a color for the buttons, and we can do, of course, much more with that. And you can start filling the content of those panel stacks, right? So we started from a shape, and into this shape, we are adding some KPI widgets, and then we are adding some additional visualizations. And here we have the personal income panel and the GDP panel, and both contain some information which is different for both, right? Very simple to create. And I would like also to highlight one thing that I mentioned at the beginning, that the dossiers now, they are so flexible that you can create very nice looking pixel perfect, such as almost pixel perfect applications, right? That you could do with MicroStrategy reporting services documents. And here are some examples of dossiers that use this technology of freeform layout. This freeform layout allows you to put on top of each other several layers of things like backgrounds, different visualizations, different texts, formatted dynamic text and static text, and more, right? So you can create very nice looking applications. And currently, it's not many excuses to say that I will stick to my documents because it allows me to do more, right? In fact, now you can do a lot of that in dossiers and even in some cases more. And let's go to the next topic, which is modern visualizations. MicroStrategy introduced some of them, like Sankey diagram, time series, and other. Modern grid, for example. And let's take a look at them one by one. So first of all, with Sankey, of course, you can use this in multiple ways. One of the ways, for example, to visualize the hiring process, right? So you can compare initial applicants to how many accept the offer, and then the specific stages, how many go through the stages, and so on. And another use case, for example, website traffic. So you can see the most common visitor path through the web page. And obviously, you can analyze this information using this flexible visualization. So let's take a look at another example, so you can compare data flow between two or more dimensions. And it can be also displaying the unbalanced data. So data does not need to make it all the way to the last flow, right? So not necessarily everything has to be there. So how to create that? You go to the visualizations, to the custom, and then you select the Sankey diagram. And next, we start filling this. So we are looking for specific KPIs, dimensions, and also a KPI. So this way, adding attributes, you just add the stages to the Sankey diagram, and then you can play with the formatting settings of the widget. And you have quite a lot of them, so it can be quite flexible for even for end users. End user can play with that, just moving things around and trying to, in the process of trying to understand better the data. Yes, so you can hide values smaller than a specific value, just to not make the visualization too crowded. And there are several other places that you can set related to, for example, text. You can wrap text and do other things. All right. Another example of a visualization is a time series visualization that can display a line or candlestick. You can control the time range with a slider and selector. You can choose access time interval and highlight the KPI value. You can add moving averages, and it provides you a flexible formatting to control the look and feel. And similarly, you can add it from the custom category of visualizations. And then you can start your filling the visualization with your data, right? So as much data you are adding, then more and more capabilities appear in the visualization. So you can, of course, just show the single trend on the chart, like line, right? But if you add more and more data, it will transform the view into something more interesting. And you will start seeing, for example, the volume of the transactions, for example, or the minimum, maximum values and things like that, or starting and ending points during the day. And also you can do some additional formattings, as you can see here in this quick demo, right? Related to, for example, the colors of the rising and decreasing values in this sequence of data. And it's very flexible, right? So you can see here, you can use also the out-of-the-box selectors that are inside, the sliders. You can also manually go through the data. Another example of visualization is the multi-metric KPI. So you can have now, as in the past, you typically had to create several KPI widgets to show several KPIs. Now you can put multiple KPIs into one, and it will basically distribute them in the widget so that you can see and compare them immediately. Another version of that is comparison KPI. So here you have one KPI, which is goods export, and then you compare it to another KPI, which in this case is imports, right? And you can see the difference also between those two. What is the difference? So it is another way of showing things and comparing to each other. Another powerful visualization is in the modern grid. Modern grid allows you to show not only the grids, the simple grids, but also something similar to the compound grid, that you have multiple groups of columns that can be showing different context, but also it allows you to show the micro charts inside. So for example, very quickly you can see the trend, or you can see how far you are from the target, and so on. Another thing which is very important in dossiers are transactions for dossiers. So some of you probably are familiar with MicroStrategy transactions in documents, in reporting services documents, that you could really create very nice applications, and still you can do that that collect information. You can do surveys, you can do some processes that allow you to approve things or deny things and provide the feedback and so on. You can provide, for example, the forecasting values, and you can modify data, you can remove data and so on. So you could do this all in documents. But in case of dossiers, we also introduced those capabilities of transactions to the grids of the dossiers. And let's take a look at how it's all done, because it's quite interesting. It's a much simpler process than in case of documents. You basically select the table, you select the columns that you would like to use to specify which one of them is the let's say key, and the system will generate the query for you. In the past, you had to generate the query, right? You were responsible to do that, and here the MicroStrategy is generating it for you depending on what you select. So whether you want to insert, update, or delete, and it works very quickly, right? You can now see the result. You can add some new data to your dossier or to your database, and it allows you to create very nice applications. I mean, not only just to analyze and consume, but also to collect data from the field, for example. So you can just enrich the data of your company and collect something new, or just provide the feedback to your peers. Another one is a rich text box. This is something which is simple, but I like it very much. It allows you to, in one text box, you can put multiple static and dynamic text, which is highly formatted. Every place can be formatted differently in the text box, and it was missing from my perspective in the simple text box, because in the simple text box you just can format the whole thing as a whole, right? So you had to put multiple text boxes here and there to achieve something like here with one text box of MicroStrategy, right? So it's a simple thing, but it makes things much simpler for the users. Okay, and I am just moving quite fast because we don't have that much time. So I hope that this is something useful for you. Of course, I am not going into too much detail about those things, and also I'm not showing every single new feature. They are available all in the documentation. You can go to the what's new in the MicroStrategy documentation, and you will see every single feature introduced. So this is not the purpose of today's meeting. We also would like to use some of the time to exercise. So let's quickly go to library. The library is the interface for the users, and not only for consumption of the content, but also for development. So this is something new which was introduced not that long ago in MicroStrategy, that MicroStrategy library now allows the developers also to create the content, to analyze things, to add the data, to add new applications, new dossiers. So you can have those personalized data workspaces for your data discovery and collaboration in real time, right? You can customize the analytics content and functionality and overall design of the application with no code, so which is quite interesting. I will talk about this a little bit later. You can save and share dynamic data views with bookmarks. So this is also a very interesting feature. So in fact, you can create your own view, your own something like a dashboard, save it as a bookmark, and create another one, and then move from one to another with a few clicks, right? So very, very convenient. And you can share this to some other colleagues. You can also subscribe to specific content to receive in the latest in your inbox. and leverage direct messaging for more actionable data discussions. Also, exporting features are available to PDF and Excel. And you can also embed visualizations, single reports, or full content portals. So you can select any visualization from here and say, okay, I have this portal, the company portal, we take it and place it on the portal. This is totally fine, right? It's very simple to do. Or you can just take the whole interface of the library and say, I will put the whole interface, or I will put the whole dashboard. But I will remove this and this, right? I will remove this capability. The users will not be able to export, for example. So this is very, very easy and done without coding at all, or with low coding. Another interesting thing is that now, apart from the documents and dossiers, the library allows you to also view the reports. So you perhaps are using more frequently the web, right? Web interface of MicroStrategy, which provides you lots of flexibility, but sometimes it's more important just to give the simplicity to the users and provide in very simple, understandable interface everything that is needed for to the users. That's why MicroStrategy also introduced the reports into the library. And now there's not that many that is not available here in library, so that you even don't have to go to web at all, right? So MicroStrategy is going into direction of those modern interfaces, and library is exactly this interface that MicroStrategy invests a lot in. So you can now access the reports from library, you can create those reports, edit the reports, and so on. Also, there are some capabilities to customize the look and feel of the library and web, and you can specify what is the logo, the color, theme of library web via the application's appearance editor. So you don't have to code anything. You don't need to use any SDK. You just configure it quickly. Another feature that might be interesting to you is insights with library that was introduced to MicroStrategy Cloud environment. And it allows the users to select the KPIs they want to monitor from your dossiers. So for example, you have one dossier, you pick one KPI from this dossier, one metric. You have another KPI dossier, you select two other, for example, metrics from this dossier. And this way, you tell the system, please monitor for me those KPIs. Please create one single dossier or something like a dashboard with all those KPIs that I selected. And please notify me anytime something strange happens, right, with the data. And it will look for those outliers, it will notify you about that. You will be able to see, like in the right, you can see, for example, what are the trends in time, what are the what is the data itself, and what is the trend itself, right? And also you will see that system just found something interesting here, and it notifies you about that, and you basically are able to, independently from what's happening in the database, you can monitor what's happening in the data, because the system is collecting all this information and is running some artificial intelligence algorithms on top of that to provide you with some interesting insights about the data. Okay. And I mentioned those custom views, custom applications that are available in MicroStrategy. And you can create dossier as an application. And this dossier can be fully like a one application, right? Or you can say that, for example, you have a library which is limited to a specific functionality, and this is your application. So you can select whatever you like for your application without any coding, and you can expose this to your users in your organization. For example, to one set of group of users, you provide this as a, for example, starting point for everything. This is their application, right? And they get a specific link for that, and they just access this information. Or the other group will see this as a starting point, right? So you can configure that without any coding. You just select from the list what kind of capabilities are available. For example, should I see the notifications in the interface, or should I see the filtering or something else? Or should I, for example, be able to add the content here or not? So you can tailor those applications just by configuring this, by clicking for your different user groups. So it's quite simple. You select app structure at the beginning. You define the starting homepage for application. It can be both one of two. It can be either existing dossier, or it can be just library. And then you organize the content. So you can group the applications dossiers into some groups. For example, here you can see a corporate group and my group, and you can create multiple such groups. And then you use this no-code customization editor to hide components and update settings, right? So you can see all those functionalities that are available in application or not, depending on what you select here. Of course, there's more than that than shown in this print screen. So we want to simplify as much as possible the process of creation of new applications to the users. So even if the user is privileged to have specific capabilities in general, you can say, okay, for this particular application, they will not be able to do this or that, right? So this is also interesting. And then you can view the content, view those applications using various channels, let's say various applications like Library Web or Library Mobile, and MicroStrategy app that can cache the content for you, and you can use it faster than in case of Library Web, because it's all pre-cached for the users. Also, the users can, for example, here you can see a mobile application. They can switch between applications on Library and mobile. So let's assume that you have multiple applications available, so you can easily select which one you go to, even on here on small devices. So also another part of that is that applications, you can set up not only the functionalities, but also you define the set of color palettes to be available per application, including defining the application's default color palette. You can switch between app workstations based on workspaces based on tasks, and users in MicroStrategy Library Web can view the list of available applications, right? And when subscribing to specific dossiers in library, you can leverage an expanded range selection to specify chapter and page level options for Excel or PDF. All right, and also important topic are subscriptions. Subscriptions now are also available directly from the library. So you don't have to go to web to set up a subscription. And what's interesting, you can basically play with your dossier here. So you can filter it, you can go to specific pages and so on and so on. And then you apply these, and then you can share it. So you can share your view that you have currently, and you can bookmark it. So you provide the name of the subscription, and then you can say, okay, include current view as a bookmark. So it will create a bookmark for you, and you can share this also as well, this bookmark to the others. But here you are providing, creating the subscription for you to receive it, for example, in a periodic manner, based on time schedule, based on the event that is happening somewhere in the ecosystem. Of course, you can provide some notes to here and add some additional addresses of this particular subscription. And yeah, there are options also to testing it immediately. All right, so once you have it in your inbox, you can access it directly, and here you can see the result. So we send, for example, something to PDF, and it corresponds to what was on the screen, and you can analyze this here and access from your email. Also, here you can see that in your library you have this the subscriptions section that allows you to edit your subscriptions, to unsubscribe, to modify whatever you want here. So it's all available in one place, so that you can understand better and quicker what should come to you and when, what is the schedule, for example, Monday morning, or on database load, or other, right? You can also, of course, browse through it using some filters, so that you can better, if you have many of those subscriptions, you can better navigate through the list. All right, so let's move forward. And the big thing that I already mentioned is that now you have the capabilities to edit and create dossiers in library. I'm sorry. And it's the same interface, right? So you can see that if you, for example, are accessing the dossier editor in web, or if you are doing this in library or in, for example, Workstation, it's the same editor. You don't need to learn again the interface. However, it is now available directly from the library, so that you can minimize the number of interfaces that you use on the daily basis. All right. Other thing which is small, but again, it simplifies things a lot sometimes, is that you can navigate your dossier. And you know this feature from the edition mode, right? That you build things and you can undo, redo things. But when you navigate through the dossier, when you are consuming it as an end user, now you have also this capability to undo, redo, so that you can easily come back to what was before, right? So because sometimes you do complex manipulations of the data, maybe you would like to just go a few steps back. All right, so now I would like to move to another topic, which is Workstation. We talked a little bit about the self-service and dossiers and library, which are the interfaces for typically for the consumers, for analysts, and as you heard recently, also for the developers now who can develop things inside. But Workstation is something that you install on your machine, on your laptop, for example, and you can access the server, or you can work offline, and you can do things like creation of your new dashboards offline, right? Or you can connect and do upload, the created dashboard to your server. Or you can do some administration tasks like manage environments and users, maintain data security, schedule content delivery, and so on and so on. So the Workstation is becoming one tool for everything. It's not yet one tool, but we are going into this direction to maximally simplify things for administrators, for architects, and get rid of all those multiple applications and multiple interfaces for administration. So for example, now you have the integrity manager, you have the object manager, you have the command manager as a separate interfaces, and they're very useful, right? They allow you to automate things. They allow you to very quickly just manage the environment in an effective way. But they are separate tools. And maybe it's good to take developer to take all those administrative tools and put it into one tool, redesign it in such a way that it simplifies the processes for you, right? So instead of doing 10 clicks, maybe you will do 2 clicks. So our technology is trying to redesign the whole process of doing things in MicroStrategy to make it as much simple as possible. And now you can use the workstation for multiple things, like for creation of applications, for data access, for schema design, for setting security. And in more detail, you can see here, for example, when you model your data, you can already in Workstation define your schema. You can add tables to the project, create attributes, create facts, establish relationships between them, define some hierarchies, right? So all of that can be already done in MicroStrategy Workstation. Then you can create some additional higher level content, right? Like metrics, filters, prompts, consolidations, derived elements. You can understand dependencies and components inside your workstation. And we can continue with that, right? You can configure distribution of content, establish strategy for delivery, monitor and manage subscription workflows, as well as you can manage and monitor your platform. You can manage security, environment, you can configure projects, configure access, provide data sources, automate administration tasks, monitor environments and projects, and analyze the usage of your platform. And as you can see here, it collects multiple capabilities from various tools now. And this all can be also enriched with some automation using the scripting with Python, right? So perhaps some of you are familiar with MicroStrategy Command Manager that allows you to create procedure-like scripts to do things. You have multiple entries available that you can use for certain tasks. And now MicroStrategy has also this possibility to use Python scripts as an object inside MicroStrategy metadata. So this is for automation of things, right? So it is a very powerful tool. MicroStrategy did it because, of course, Python is so popular, right? It's getting more and more users, and people know how to use that, right? So why not to use this as a mean to automate things, for example? And how it can look like, let me maybe show you example. So you have workstation here, right? The interface workstation, you have scripts, you go to the scripts, and you have here your scripts. You can upload your new scripts if you want, or you can build it directly here in this environment. But sometimes you have your separate environments and you like to update something existing, so no problem with that. And now you can build the script or modify the one that you just uploaded, right? And also here you can see that you can add a new script, or just using the plus here in the left panel. And when you do that, you select the environment that will be used for this script, where it will be run, right? So then you start typing and building your script. So you can see here that you have in the right, you have the library of things with the documentation, with information, how to use that. For example, connectivity to the server, how to connect. So everything is described here, right? So that you can quickly build your automation, your script in Python, and save it as something which is part of the metadata of the MicroStrategy. And another thing is the script gallery that is available. Those are the scripts already created for you by MicroStrategy that do the most frequently used tasks, like list all dossiers and documents within a project, right? Or do this or that, and you can just select whatever you want from there. So all those scripts are here. We are adding more and more of those scripts for quicker development of new processes inside this ecosystem. So you can see here the script gallery, and you can see those code snippets as well. So smaller portions of the code, not necessarily the whole scripts, like administration workflows, but smaller examples that you can directly reuse in your environment. Okay, but this is something more technical, right? Not everyone does it, not every company, but it's probably good to know that there is such a possibility to automate using just Python and save the Python as object in semantic graph, and then use it in the future as well. Of course, in Workstation, there are multiple things that you can do, and I just selected here a few of them just to see some examples. Create transformations. You can do it now inside Workstation, or you can create custom groups. And what's interesting now, if you go to MicroStrategy documentation, you will find not only description, but also quite often you will find also the videos that show how to things, how they work, how you can use this specific feature of MicroStrategy, right? So quite often you will find them embedded into the documentation. And another example, so you can create and edit history list subscriptions. You can view and edit log configuration settings, and you can create intelligent cubes and so on and so on. So we will not go into every single one. Just wanted to show a few of them, right? So maybe I will just quickly open the workstation for you so that you can take a look at that. So let me open it. All right, so this is the interface of the workstation. Depending on how many capabilities you have, how many what are you allowed to do, you will see more or less of those features here. And for example, now I am connected to the environment for today's webinar. That's why I am also seeing more capabilities related to administration of the environment, and modeling, and so on. Otherwise, I would see only the possibility to create, for example, dossiers offline if I'm not connected to the server, right? You can, as you can see here, you can create your applications from scratch. So here you have the schemas available. So, for example, MicroStrategy tutorial schema, the metadata, the objects inside are here as well. So different types of objects, you can specify which type you'd like to see here. So let's say that I would like to see only the hierarchy, and I will edit the time hierarchy here. And now you can see this interface for development of things, right? You can create such objects like hierarchies or attributes, facts, and so on inside this particular interface of Workstation. Also, for example, you have the users here. I can go and I will look for myself, and maybe you'd like to see my activity, right? So if you are an administrator and you have the right to do that, then you will see directly in this application something that was available to you in Enterprise Manager in the past, for example, right? So you could see, okay, what is happening, how the users, what they're doing, and how many objects executed, how it looks in time, right? What type of objects, the security access, what was changed by the user, right? What kind of changes this person did. Immediately, it is available to you much faster than in the past. And of course, you can do much more related to the subscriptions, to monitors. So for example, in case of subscriptions, now you have the capability to create multi-content subscriptions. So in one email, you can get, for example, 5 different reports or dashboards with different format, or even the same dashboard in different formats, right? So more complex scenarios are possible. Of course, with Workstation, you can also create the hyper intelligent cards just to inject the data or insights into your legacy applications, right? So very quickly you can create those hyper cards for your customers, for your employees, and so on, right? So like this one, for example, and you can inject this into your existing applications that are not MicroStrategy. They are something else, right? CRM systems, ERP systems, and even when you are browsing the internet, then you can enable those hypercards on top of the web pages that you are browsing, right? Without any integration with those pages, which is very convenient. All right, so I wanted to use this first hour for more or less this overview of MicroStrategy new interfaces, and definitely MicroStrategy Workstation and MicroStrategy Library and MicroStrategy Dossier are those new interfaces that we are heavily investing in. And this is like we see the users mostly should use exactly those interfaces, and we are working on them, adding some new capabilities. So every month, in fact, now is a new release of MicroStrategy with some updates, with some new features, some improvements. So every month we have almost the smaller release, and then every quarter we have a slightly bigger release with more of those capabilities. So every month it's related to more the client applications, like for example, the mobile library or something like that. But every quarter, this is bigger related to the whole platform. Okay. So I hope this part was somehow useful to you. Again, I did not show everything to you, but you can also take a look at some interesting web pages if you are interested. You can go to, for example, demo.microstrategy.com, and you will find here some examples of those capabilities, including the first one here, library of what's new, right? If I open that one, you will see also the information about MicroStrategy, the latest release with the latest updates, and you can go to the update you're interested in. Okay, for example, the latest update 9, I will go here and you will see what was the most important things introduced, insights for mobile and application, switch control types for the transaction grid, or some others like edit migration packages, create intelligent cube reports, and so on and so on. So everything is here, plus the possibility to go to the documentation directly from here. You can navigate through this list of updates and releases. So you can go, for example, to the 2021 release to see the most important things that were introduced. And obviously, if you go to the documentation, you will see more details. also, if you'd like to take a look closer at what's available, you can just say in the web browser, MicroStrategy, what's new. And then you will go to what's new in MicroStrategy 2021. And then you will see all those updates, update 9, update 8 February, update 8 January, update 8 December. So you can see every month there's a new small update of the update, bigger update, right, of the quarterly update. And here you will find all those small changes or big changes in every single update, right? So you can go directly, for example, to update 7. Okay. So let me go back to the presentation. And we, according to the plan, we should start the second part of this session, which is a workshop. And in this workshop, we will play a bit with the new interfaces and the new capabilities of MicroStrategy, and how to access the environment. This is the link. I will share this link via chat. So this is link to MicroStrategy library, which is the main interface for us today. And now the login and password for everyone is like as follows. You use your email address, the first part of it. For example, my email address is pemagiera@microstrategy.com. So I am removing everything starting from and just taking this first part, right? So my login is Pemagiera, right? So you just take whatever you have in your email address before So this part, right? And this is your login name. And the password is demo for everyone, right? So it's very simple. Please use the link that I provided you with. And please try to log into the system. So take your email address that you used for registration to this event, take the first part as a login, and demo as a password. So I will do this as well. Sorry. So I will go here. Now I can see here the possibility to provide my username, which is first part of my email address, Pemagiera, and then the password is demo. Very simple. Now I click log in with credentials. And I am inside, and you should be as well, right? So if you have any problems with that, please notify us via chat. So I cannot see any messages in the chat. That means that probably we are all fine at this stage. Okay, and now you can see here this interface of MicroStrategy library. And this interface allows you to access various things. So if you click on this icon in the top left corner, then you will see my content if you have any, or if you created something, or your favorites, or recent, your insights, your subscriptions, and your groups if you created anything like that, right? And you can open your content here. So if you go to all, you will see all the content that you have access here in this interface. And let's say that I would like to open the Office Royale Sales application or dossier. So I am clicking on that. And now I can see the content, right? So in the top left corner, again, you have the table of contents. If you click on that, you will see different chapters and pages inside. So it's like a book. So here's a chapter summary with overview page, with revenue analysis page. And there's another chapter, opportunity analysis, with opportunity analysis page and some other pages as well, and chapters. So you can use that to navigate. So for example, you go to revenue analysis here, and you will see the revenue by product category, revenue by type, trends by quarter of year. You can also use the heat map to filter the other visualizations, right? So for example, if I see the break room, I will see all the information on products, parts, maintenance, support, and so on for this particular category. If I want to deselect, I click on the same or somewhere. Yeah, or you can also just select everything if you want. Okay, another page here. This is not page, in fact, this is a panel of a panel stack. So if you click on this geographic analysis, you will see a map, obviously, with geographic analysis, and plus some KPIs inside. And so this is part of the content of the panel, which is part of the panel stack, right? So we were talking about this, that apart from the possibility to use those chapters and organize it into the pages as well, you can also use additional level of embedding things inside a page using the panel stacks. So for example, here's the panel stack. The panel stack can be for the whole page or for just the small part of the page. So however you want to use that. And obviously, yeah, some additional like account analysis, or you can go to other places inside this particular dossier. The filters are available here in the, when you click on this filter icon, you will see the filters available, right? So for example, industry is this visualization is used as a filter here. So it's also interesting feature in MicroStrategy that you can use visualizations as a filters only when they are needed, right? You can invoke them. And then I can say, okay, I'm interested in those 5 top, right? So I select them, multi-select them and apply. And now I can see all the data here only for the selected 5 industries, right? Also, you can modify these. You can do some additional things. You can delete other areas or keep only exclude. So let's say that I will keep only those here. And also you can create your bookmarks here. So if you go to the bookmarks, you can add a new bookmark and call it like my opportunity analysis. Let's say I will save it like that. And you can see here that I have my opportunity analysis inside, right? I can go somewhere else, obviously, and modify things here and there. I can create another bookmark. Let's say I will add a bookmark here and say this might say rep performance, or says rep performance, and I will save that. And now I have multiple of those bookmarks. So let's assume that I would like to come back to my view of the dashboard that I created before, like my opportunity analysis. I just click on that and you will see exactly the same view. Even if I change something here, I will go and change the industries. Now I will just say, show all industries and so on. If I click on this bookmark again, I will see exactly as it was before, only for those 5 industries, right? And for those manipulations that I did here. And what's interesting now, I can share this with my colleagues, right? So I can share this dossier and say, I can include the bookmarks. I can select the bookmarks that I want to include, for example, those two. And now I will add all the webinars, so all the participants of the webinar. Okay, and I will share this. So typically, you will see here in the notifications information that someone shared something with you, and you can click on that, you can take a look. Okay, so this is just a quick introduction to the interface before we do an exercise so that you are familiar, because not everyone is using the library, not everyone is using dossiers. So you can see here also some additional capabilities. If you click on this eye here, this info window, this button here, then you will see other capabilities, like you can add this to favorite, for example, or you can share the dossier or export, download the dossier. So for example, if I download it, you see that I now have this in a file on my laptop, right? And I can open it inside my workstation, right? So you can now maybe use this offline, totally offline, if you like. So this is in my offline mode in works. This is in workstation. Or you can do other things, remove from library or edit if you have the rights to do so. Okay, other things that are worth mentioning is that now you can, for example, create new stuff in the interface of library. Let's see the report. So you can create a simple report here. I will click the report, and here, obviously, I have access to the project and to the schema objects, the public objects, and so on, right? So I can go, for example, to attributes and say, please just show me the region, and maybe I will add something from the products. So I will just say category, and I will go to the public objects, to the metrics, and select some maybe sales metrics like cost, profit. All right, and that's it, right? We have the report. I can play it, so you can see the result here, right? You can add a page by if you want. For example, I will put the region to the page by now. So very quickly, you can use this library interface for creation of your content. So I can save it now, and I will save it inside my reports, so I can access it later. I don't want to share it yet, right? So I can put it here. So I am saving it here. Okay. So this is very quick introduction to the library interface. Obviously, there's much more. For example, if I open again the Office Royale, you can go to collaboration, right? The collaboration allows you to add some comments, right? So this is available to everyone who can use collaboration. So it is like comment to the dashboard now. But if you want to have like close discussion with others, you go to the discussions and you add new discussion, right? So you can say, I will add the whole webinar group to the discussion, and we will discuss something, right? So I can name it somehow. So maybe the current results, or this is the name. I add the message. Okay, and I can include, for example, the filter chapter if it's available, so that everyone can see the context, and I post it. And now, if you want, you can go to this dashboard, the Office Royale, and you can go to the discussion, and you can add something to the discussion, right? So you will see who provided this content and when and so on. So it's in real time, you will be able to discuss. Oh, Mate, thanks a lot for your input into the discussion. Great. Okay, so now I think it's time to go to our there's a question. Sorry, I will go to the chat. So there are a few people joining as predefined users. Is there any additional info for that? So as I mentioned, there is the possibility to use the MicroStrategy, to use your email, the first part of the email. However, if you don't have it available, I mean, you did not, for example, register, or you just registered or something like that, and you don't have the access, then please let us know, and we will distribute to you a special user account, because we also created the users that are like everyone can use them. The same password, the demo, and there's a user and the number, and we will provide you with the number. So if you have such a situation, please let us know in the chat, and we will provide you with such account. Okay. So I cannot see any additional questions. So this one came from CRMT. So I believe that this was like more logistics or housekeeping. Okay, so now let's start doing some exercises. And I would like to start from the first of the recent capabilities that MicroStrategy introduced. And this is related to the templates. So it was introduced in update 8, I think. So we will create a new dossier based on a template. And the template already contains quite a lot of things. So how to do that? So first of all, you need to be here inside the library. So we don't have to go to web, right? We don't have to switch anywhere. We are still in this consumption interface. And if you want to create something, you want this development interface, you have this plus button. So let's all click create new, this plus button. So now we will start working together, and we will create, modify a dashboard or create a new dashboard based on a template. So I am creating it by clicking plus, and then I am selecting dossier. So let's do that. I am selecting dossier. And here you have the capability to create a dossier based on, for example, the existing data set or report, or there are other options available as well. You can specify the project in which you do that. We have all access only to one project here. That's why only one is showing. And then you can also select a template if you want. And we'll use this option. So I will go to select template, and you will find this workshop dossier template. So you can select this one and click create. Okay. So it's very interesting way of providing some predefined content to the end users. They can include already the data, some data sets. They can include predefined visualizations. They can include some logos and some other things. So I hope that everyone is in this stage, the same stage. So if we are, then we can save it. Let's save it somewhere. So I'll click Save, and we save it in a very specific place. So please go to the Shared Reports. Please select Save in Shared Reports, right? And then scroll down to the workshop. Please scroll down to the workshop and click this new folder. So we all will create a folder for each of us, right? So please click a new folder and name it with your name or the first part of your login name. So the first part of your email address, or somehow that it will identify you, right? So you can name it as like I am doing it here. Okay, so I have it created. I can see that people are creating that very well. And please go inside and name your dossier. Please name it like airlines, and again your name. Why? Because later we would like to maybe, because we are creating the same thing, right? And later we would like to understand better, quicker, who is doing what. Because typically this is done, something is done by one person and then it's used by multiple users. Here is different situation, is for exercise, so you can just name, in the name also include your name. So I will save it in my folder. And yeah, so we are working now on everyone is working on their own dashboard, right? On own dossier. My dossier is called Airlines Przemek Magiera. And what you have here inside this dossier. So first of all, this is the data containing data about the airlines, as you may suspect, right? And the on-time flights, delayed flights, canceled flights, some airline details, and so on. And we will play with this data, with this dossier, with this template to create something new or to modify the existing things. So typically what is interesting for the people who use planes, right, is the delays, even more than canceled flights, because delays are very, very frequent. So let's focus for now on the delays. And we will just look at the interface, just to play, familiarize yourself with the interface. So this is the same interface that is available in MicroStrategy Web, in MicroStrategy Workstation for dossiers. So for example, here in the left, you will find the content, right? So you can enable or disable the content. In the view, you will find the panels like contents panel, datasets panel. So you can enable datasets panel. You can enable also layers panel. So in fact, we don't need the contents panel because we have just one page. So we don't want it to take our space. That's why I will remove contents panel. And we have all other panels available. And starting from the left, we have the datasets panel here with all the data available in the dossier. Of course, we could add new data if necessary. So some new data or existing dataset or existing objects from the metadata. And this is the recommended way, that we go to existing objects in the metadata, because we are reusing those objects or existing datasets in the metadata. But now in this case, we have it already here. The data set, we have attributes like airline name, day of week, departure hour, year, and we have some KPIs, some metrics like cancel rate, delay rate, on time, number of the flights, and so on. Next, we are going to the next panel, and we have here the editor mode, right? So if I click something like visualization, go to editor, then you will see the fields for this particular visualization. This is very simple visualization with only one metric. You can break by something if you want, you can provide trend. That's why it's very simple. If you click on something else, you will see different fields here in the editor, right? Another panel here is filters. So in the filters, we have the year, but you can add any other object that you like here from the data set. And you have also the formatting here. Next panel is obviously the application itself, the dossier, with the content inside. You can scroll this if you want. Also, the last panel, in the right, you can see the layers. It is very useful. Why? Because now when we have this freeform layout available, that you can put multiple layers of things on top of each other, it's much easier to navigate when you develop things, right? So you can select something here, select something there, and you go there directly. You can go to formatting directly here, this particular object if you want, right? So it's very useful to navigate. And obviously you have other icons here available to add new pages, to chapters and pages, to add data, to pause the retrieval of data, to insert new visualizations, filters, text, images, and so on. So all of that is available here. Plus, of course, the menu that allows you to set up some additional things. Okay, but let's start doing something with this particular dossier. You can see here also that, for example, in delayed flights, if you click on something on January or February, you will see that it affects all that is on this panel of delayed flights, right? So you can select many of them if you want, and it will combine this information for those 2 months. If you want to deselect, you just click somewhere here next to that. Okay, and let's try to play with the formatting capabilities. So, for example, we can select the delays by day, and we can go to the format, and then we can go to the reference lines. Let's add a reference line, right? So I will add one. I will add an average. So you can go here and select average, and you can see now this average is shown here. We can also set up, for example, a color of that. So you can click on this line, right click and say, I will show this as blue. So I will select blue, right? So now you have the blue. Also, you can go to the reference line in the format, and there are some labels, as you can see here. You can disable or enable those labels. So you can say, I want to see the value as well. I want to see the metric name as well, right? So all of that can be set up here. Okay, so we specified this this particular average. So you know how to use the formattings of things. So the formatting is typically different for various different visualizations, right? Because there are different capabilities available. Now let's go maybe to the below to the chart, this pie chart. And again, if you click on this pie chart and go to the formatting, you can go to the graph shape, for example, and you will see different types of this graph. So for example, ring, I will select the ring instead of the pie chart. I like it better, right? So why not to use that? Then maybe you would like to set up some additional things like in the data labels. I would like to specify that I want to hide overlapping labels if it's many of them, right? So it's set up here. I can add also the value. So here we have the flights delayed. So this is the value of flights delayed. 20,000 flights were delayed in this particular airport, origin airport, right? And you can say that, okay, I would like to see this outside of the graph, for example. So why not? Let's click on outside. You can also show the leader lines if you want. I will disable that, but it's also sometimes useful to have it, especially when you have multiple categories inside. So now I will leave it as it is for now, right? Because it's we can go to some other elements here. If you have some time later, we will maybe add something on top of that graph to have something inside, maybe a KPI widget inside this particular one. We leverage the freeform layout for this. All right. So now you can see here that we modified slightly the panel of delayed flights. We can save it. So from time to time, it's good to save, just to be on the safe side, right? And now you can, of course, analyze it a little bit. You can see that when the delays happened mostly. So and when it happened, it is below average. So for example, you can see that on Sunday, Tuesday, and Saturday, typically the less delays than usual, right? Also, you can, from the perspective of the month, see how it looks in different months if you want. So now let's go to the canceled flights. And here it's interesting to see this particular visualization, which is campaign grid. And you can again work on this if you want a little bit. And for example, if you go to the layout in the format, first go to visualization objects. So you first need to select this visualization, right? So you select the visualization, go to the visualization options, and maybe to improve the visibility of the data here, let's enable banding. And now you can see that the banding is here, right? So you can see it better. So, but first of all, what's a compound grid? The compound grid is something that allows you to put together next to each other something like a separate reports, right? Let me open the editor here. So if you click on editor, you will see that you have several columns here, the original airport, the flights canceled, and cancel rate, right? You can add another set of columns if necessary and put something here. So for example, if I add the cancel rate, you will see that this cancel rate is for everything, not only for those this context of the origin airport, right? Or airline name. This is for everything. Or you can say, I will add here something like maybe year to this to see it in completely different context, right? So we don't have yeah, we have just 1 year because of the filter that is used here. So you can stack next to each other several such visual reports that are synchronize using the rows. So here in rows we have airline name, and each of those small reports here has it in the rows. But in the columns, we can have completely different sets of data to compare, for example, from different time periods, or to have like different views of those KPIs or different KPIs. Okay, let's switch to airline details. And here, again, you have the compound grid. And we can take a look that in this particular case, we have already two column sets. So this is the column set with on-time flights and another one with delayed flights. Okay, so you can also use separate formatting for each of those sections so that you better understand what's going on the screen. And in this particular one, you have on-time KPI with departure time, if it's morning, afternoon, evening, overnight. And in this one, when you have delayed flights, you have it in the context, the flights delayed in context of origin airport and the day of week, right? So you can have various views of the data for the same airline here. And it's very convenient because it synchronizes automatically when you scroll. For example, this, you will see that this is synchronized. And when you click on that and go to the formatting, you will also be able to set up some visualization options, like, for example, the layout, the template. Of course, there's quite a lot of various options here, and values, column headers, right? So everything can be separately formatted, including those sections. So if you go to column headers and you select, instead of all columns, you select the on-time flights. So this is the first set of group of columns, right? And now you can specify for these on-time flights the colors, or delayed flights, the different colors, right? So this is something that you can set up. Also, if you go here and hover over the visualization, you will see this particular filter icon. When I click on that, I will see advanced qualification. You can click on that, and you can see that on-time flights and delayed flights have separate tabs here. So whenever you add another group of columns, you will see more and more tabs here. So for example, in delayed flights, you will see day of week in list. There's Sunday, Friday, Saturday. So this is the weekend days, right? And but for the first part here, you have all the data, no filter at all. So you can separately filter the sections of this compound grid. Okay, so I hope that this is clear. I will not do too much here. Of course, we could play with the coloring, the filtering, and so on. So, for example, if I go here, advanced qualification, delayed flights, I can modify it and say I want also to see Monday, right? So I will save it, and here you go, right? You have Monday as well inside this particular example. Okay, but I think it's good to show some other elements, and maybe we will work a little bit on the panel stacks. So here again, you remember that we have this panel stack here that is composed of 4 different panels, right? We have canceled flight, airline details, and so on. And now maybe it's a good idea to play a little bit with this panel stack. I would like to add another panel to this. So here you have in the layers in the right, you can see this main panel stack, which is exactly this highlighted now, right? Because I clicked on that and it's now highlighted. And you can right click on this name of main panel stack, and you will find here the first option, which is insert panel. So you can click on that, right? On this insert panel. If you cannot see those layers, so again, you can go to the view, and please make sure that the layers panel is selected, right? So here, this one should be selected. And now it's visible. So in main panel stack, you click on that, you right click on that, and you select the first option, insert panel. And here we go. There is a new panel added, which is for now contains just one visualization, which is empty, this visualization. In case you have any issues, any problems, any questions, please do not hesitate to add them to the chat, and we'll try to help you. If you have some questions, please do that. All right. So we added the panel stack. We can rename this panel. So you can see here this new panel, panel 1. So you can double click on this panel 1 in the right, in the layers panel. And let's rename this to focused airline analysis. Okay, so now also here, if I change it here, also in the selector, the name was changed. And now we can go to the panel, right click on the visualization, and let's select change visualization. And we will go to the grid, right, and select the third option, the grid modern. So let's play a little bit with the modern grid. So I'm selecting this one. You can see that this icon changed here. So again, if I want to change, I can right click on that. Here I am already inside this. So you right click on that and you select this particular visualization, the type of the visualization, right? Also, you can insert a new one or delete the existing one if you want. So now we have this modern grid visualization. We will now make sure that this dataset panel is available, right? So please, if you don't see that, please go to View and please open the datasets panel here, okay? So that you can see it, and let's go to Editor panel. So now we can drag and drop things to the editor of this particular visualization. Also, you can see here that in the filter, we have the filter for the year, right? So for now, we have the 2009 selected, but we are going to the editor, and in the editor, we will add a microchart to these columns, right? So in the plus here, in the columns, I click here, and you have the option, either the microchart or the column set. So I will select the first option, which is microchart, okay? So again, I am clicking, going to the editor. First of all, I am clicking on the visualization, then I go to editor, then I can see the columns, and I click on the plus button, and I select microchart. So now in this microchart window, please ensure that the sparkline type is selected, the sparkline. And then we select the metric, which is in this case the number of flights. And the attribute is month. And we can also rename that to the total flights trend by month, right? So I will just remove a number off and we say total flights trend by month and click OK. So now you can see just one trend. So this is because we did not put any row yet, right? So we'll add airline name to the rows. So you drag and drop the airline names, and voila, you have here several trends for various airlines in a grid. So now you can add new columns if you want. So I will add new columns. And I will select the column set, because now I just want to put the data. In this case, it will be the average delay in minutes, right? So I will just drag and drop it to this column set. And here you see this average delay. Average delay. Sorry, I put the wrong one. I need average delay in minutes, right? So I will add the new column set and average delay. So now we have the time in minutes. Let's add something else here. So again, I will add a new set of columns. I am clicking the plus, and I will add a new microchart. But this time, from the type, I will select trend bars. And in the metric dropdown, I will select flights delayed. Flights delayed. Of course, when you are doing that, it's not that important that you select exactly the same things. It's more important that you understand how to use that. But of course, it's easier later to understand if we do the same, right? So here I am selecting flights delayed. And in the attributes dropdown, I select the departure time. Departure time. And I will change the name to just delayed flights comparison. And click OK. And here we have quite complex report now, which is composed of multiple column sets and microcharts, right? That allows us to present a rich set of data in a manner that is understandable for the end users. So on the one hand, you have the airline names. For each of them, you can see the trend of total flights in time, right? You can see the trends here. And on the other hand, you can see the average delay plus the microchart also for delayed flights comparison by departure time. Right, so here, for example, the morning, here is the afternoon, evening, and overnight, right? So you can see that typically overnight is much less delays, as well as in the morning, a little bit less. Okay, and we could continue with that, right? We could play with we can rename this, or we can completely remove the title here, right? But quite often it's good, even if you remove the title, to rename it to something that is understandable to you later when you, for example, want to modify something in the layers panel, right? So you can say these flights overview or something like that. Okay, so we have this here, but we want to remove this from this title. So we click on the visualization, then go to the format, go to the title and container, and just disable the title bar, right? So now you can see here that this flights overview was removed. All right. Of course, we could add more to that, and maybe let's quickly add one more thing to this. I will add to the editor, and we can add also information about flights canceled. So I will add columns here, and this time column set. And to this column set, I will add flights canceled. So flights canceled to the column set. And also, I would like to see this from the perspective of different origin airport, right? So I take the origin airport and put it on top of the flights canceled. So now you can see that apart from the information on total flights and delays, you have also information of cancellations related to different origin airports, right? So various sets of information of columns are stacked next to each other to present information in small space, right? You can have quite a lot of information which is synchronized via the rows here. So let's save whatever we did, right? So let's click the save button. Do we have any questions in the meantime? I can't see anything in the chat or in the questions. So good. I assume that everything is fine. So now we can go back to the delayed flights, right, panel. And you remember we were talking about this pie chart or ring chart now, and we can play with this a little bit. So currently, this thing here, the whole panel delays flight. If you click on the delayed flights in the layers, you will see in the format that it is using the auto layout mode now. What does it mean? It means that whatever I do here, it will try to adapt automatically, right? So I, for example, I'm resizing one, and the others are adapting so that you use the whole screen. But now I would like to change it, this behavior, and say, I want to fully control where things are located on the screen, and I want them to be independent from each other. So again, I'm clicking on delayed flights, and then in the format, I select the layout mode and select the convert to freeform layout. I click on that freeform layout. And now please take a look. If I change this one, the others will not change, right? So this is slightly different view. I can put multiple things now on top of each other if necessary or next to each other. I can redesign this. I can add some graphical elements and so on. All right. So let's maybe modify this ring chart. I will click on the ring chart and resize it a little bit so that it appears closer to the top, right? So it's here closer to the top. And now I would like to add a new visualization. So to add a new visualization, I am still in this particular panel, right? So I can click on the panel and add a new visualization here. And I will add just a regular KPI widget. So the first one, the KPI. And this KPI allows me, obviously, to show some KPIs in various scenarios with or without trends and so on. So I will select the number of flights and put it into the visualization. Drag and drop, just drag and drop to the visualization. You can see that this visualization one, right, is also visible in the layers. You can right click here and double click here and just rename this to the total flights. so that you know later what's that, right? So this is the total flights. You can see the total flights here. Maybe you don't want to show the title. So again, you go to the format, you go to the title and container and just deselect the title bar. So now you see the number of flights just like that. And we would like to have this number of flights on top of the pie chart, right? Or the ring chart. So let's resize it and let's put it inside. Maybe I will resize so that everything is visible, just like that, right? And now, as you can see here, it's somehow showing on top of that, but I would like to have it below, so I can go to the total flights in the layers, right click on that and say send to back, right? So it disappeared. It's just now below this chart here. So in order to see it now, we need to click on the ring chart and we need to specify the the colors of the background here, right? So we need to go to the title and container here, and we see here the fill color, which needs to be, this is the title, but it's the container. So the fill color we set up to no fill, right? So I select this no fill for the container. And voila, you can see here the number of flights below this particular visualization of ring chart. So this is how you can compose quite interesting infographics or applications that are aesthetically compelling, and they are informative, and they are very flexible because you can put anything you like next to each other or on top of each other, and it can provide you with interesting insights. It can be very useful and ergonomic. So those applications can be really nice. And of course, you can play with the colors and art. We're not focused on that too much because, in fact, we are very close to the end of today's session. So I think that we should more or less stop here. If you have any questions related to that exercise or in general, please kindly ask those questions. I would like just to mention one thing, that you have access to this environment for 1 week to 28th of March, including 28th of March. So it will be in the working hours and even a little bit more available to you, this environment. So if you want to take a look at this later, please, you are welcome to do that. And also we will distribute to you step-by-step instructions that are related to this exercise, and they contain a little bit more than we did. To some extent, a little bit less, because we also showed here some newest features, like, for example, templates here, which are not visible in the exercise script that we'll send to you. But you can do also some additional exercises in this script if you like. So we definitely recommend this for you to take a look at this script and then maybe try. Of course, you can also use this environment for other exercises. You can test your ideas, you can load some data if you want, or you can use the tutorial that is available to do some additional exercises. And with that, I would like to ask Tim Kara to take over, and would like to thank you very much for this opportunity to provide this session to you.
Thank you so much, Przemysław, for not only showing us the demos, but leading the participants through these exercises. And to everyone attending, I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did and learned something new that will help you in your day-to-day. All I wanted to say was we will also send you the recording of today's webinar so you can redo some parts of the exercise that you might have missed. As Przemek said, now would be the time for questions. If you have any, you can use the chat or send us an email to the emails listed on the current slide. I can see that there's already a question in the chat. So the question is, do transactions in Dossier allow for editing data, and what control styles are supported?
Thank you very much for the question. So the answer is yes. The transactions enable the addition of the data. So you can edit the data, but you can also insert new data. You can delete the data. So it's all available in the dossiers now, right? And the different control types are available. It includes the text box, the switch, as well as drop-down menu, and this is in different versions, different not versions, but modes. For example, you can use a calculated list or manual input list or data-driven input control list. So, for example, you can take a specific data set from the dossier and use it as an input for your drop-down menu for the transactions. So it's quite powerful, right? You can go way beyond this, the normal consumption of the data, right? You can add something new, you can modify things. So you can make the application much more open for users, and you can cover much more usage scenarios with such applications which are transaction enabled. So I hope that this answers the question.
Thank you, Przemysław, for that insightful answer. I think that's really all the time we have for today. It really was a pleasure to host this workshop. Thank you again, Przemysław, for sharing your knowledge and taking the time to teach it to us. And thank you everyone for joining us today. Have a great week, and I will see you at our next event. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, bye.